And right now, the Democrat solution is, well, we're just going to raid the Treasury and you're going to get stuff, and it's going to come from people who have had a better situation than you. And that seems pretty appealing. And then the people on the right, their solution is, I don't even know you exist. Oh, you have problems? Work harder? Like, that's their solution.
I showed something a while ago, and I don't want to be misleading with what I showed. Here's what I showed. Breaking, Trump's support is collapsing rapidly. And then you did the clown emojis, but you're responding to Warnock there, who was the one saying that. You're saying right now his support is not collapsing, right?
No, again, like you should not light your hair on fire about Donald Trump's current job approval numbers. They're just not that bad. And there is a current psychological operation going on among the polling industry to put out very bad Trump marks. And I can understand, I think, why it happens. You have people like Pew that I think had Trump at like a 37% approval rating. Well, I have him at like a 47%. So it's literally just not that bad. One of the reasons is a lot of these people like lean very heavily into proprietary panels. I'm not sure what Pew does, but I know like Reuters, Ipsos, YouGov, these people have very small panels. And these people tend to be more news sensitive and more ideologically pure, and quite frankly, more like Blue Anon. And it's because they have community managers who are corporate people that have LinkedIns with pronouns in the bios. And you see just weird things that I don't see in my polling. Like if you look at, their Democrat job approval rating for Trump, it's going to be like 5% approve. Well, I get like a 19. And it's just different. Like my Democrats, some of them are crossed over to Trump. And it makes sense because we know that Donald Trump turned out more voters than any other Republican before because he appealed to crossover Democrats and independents. So I really think my job approval rating is right and the most accurate, and we're the only ones that polled it daily. But again, this is about convincing America that Republicans have a path forward. And if you like just imagine going up to any Republican congressman and saying like, yo, we got a lot of problems right now. Like look around, here's the laundry list. Like, what's your solution? Like, how are we going to fix this? I think you get a whole lot of crap, a whole lot of useless crap. Well, we just need a conservative harder, or Americans just need to vote more Republican so we can get in and wave a magic wand. And it's just garbage. And I think America is starting to realize, I think they kind of knew over the last 10 years that the Republican Party has sort of lost its ability or will to be a serious political force. But Trump made that different. It's like, well, with an outsider at the helm of this thing, now we're cooking. And I'm looking around and I'm just seeing, I think people increasingly say, well, we're not cooking right now. We're actually cooked. And when Trump is doing flip-flops, just the complete energy reversal. Remember, like a year ago, we were talking about auditing the Fed. Was that a Trump promise? Probably not. But it was certainly something that was in the discussions that were happening around the Doge movement and all this stuff. Well, in less than a year, we went from audit the Fed to our path forward is showering free money on everybody with low interest rates again. So it's like, that's not a solution. So I don't know. The line's got to keep going up, and we're on the same path that we were before. And I think everybody thought that Trump was sort of our way into getting onto another path. And so the writing on the wall is it's still going to be messy, I guess. You know what I mean? Like we're expanding the military budget 50%. We have a lot of geopolitical problems. There's increasing tension between Russia and China and us. We have an ascendant Muslim population in Western countries. You have stuff going south in South America. And you have America who has, I don't know how long the leash is going to be, depending on how much of the cleanest dirty shirt that we can maintain ourselves. But our debt situation is pretty untenable. And even if we're able to keep our heads above water, we're probably going to look increasingly like something like Japan, unless we can import infinite immigrants, in which case we're going to look something like Canada or Western Europe. And so nothing has been averted. The path continues. There haven't been the drastic actions that I think we all agreed that we would need to avert some major crisis. And it's just this complete reversal in energy. Everybody said, wow, Trump got shot. It's all different now. All bets are off. He's going to come in and he's going to do this. And there was even this sort of subtext of like, yeah, he's even going to break some rules. He's even going to cross some Rubicons. And you know what? Especially the young people, they were there for it. 57% of the under 40 voters agreed with his statement that he who saves his country violates no laws. And it was less than 40% of everybody else. So a very big generational divide. The under 40 voters, and you could say they don't work hard. You could say that they're lazy and they play too much video games and they're sort of special snowflakes and they need to stop eating Tide Pods. You could say all that stuff, but they're going to be in political power. It's only a matter of time.
And when they do, are they going to go to war? Are they going to flip to the left and go to war on capitalism?
I think that's baked in. I mean, they are not conservative. They are very socialistic, even the ones who say they're conservative. We covered a lot of the numbers on a previous show with you for sure. Even the Trump voter under 40 by 0.75% approves with nationalizing major industries like tech and energy and healthcare. Again, they don't like these ideas of looking at the old isms and saying we need to restore these principles. They're not very principle focused. And that's how you get conservatives supporting things like excess wealth confiscation. And so when you say, well, we need to be libertarian, they're like, well, no, screw you. Well, we need more capitalism. They'll say, no, capitalism's failed. And I think that they're kind of right about this because, like, I love the Constitution as much as the next guy, but it's like hard to see a scenario in which just passing out more pocket constitutions is going to fix our problems now. Like,
well, I think the problem is that we're not running a constitutional system. We haven't for a long time, and they're going to blame this on the free market system. Well, the constitutional system hasn't worked. The free market system hasn't worked. We haven't really been running a free market system since 1913 when we allowed the Federal Reserve to come in, a private charter to private banks and start making a lot of decisions, and we keep bailing them out because the banksters got in charge, and we're bailing out the banksters instead of letting banks collapse. Yes, if you went out there and got too much debt, too much house, too much car, too much credit card debt, you should collapse, okay? We shouldn't be bailing people out. We should use this to show ideas have consequences. And we don't cleanse the system. We just keep propping it back up and taking on more and more and more debt. But eventually it has to pop. Eventually we're going to get to the end, and I think maybe we're there, to the debt-based system. And I think that's what they're rolling into now with the Genius Act and all this other stuff. And now they got themselves a newly appointed Fed chairman, if he can get confirmed, that seems to be a big fan of Bitcoin and crypto and running all those circles with the tech bros. And we're going to go to digital IDs. And then when these young people come into power who don't want really to care about the Constitution or the Republic or absolutes because they're kind of committed to pragmatism, they have no foundational doctrine or worldview. Guess what they're going to be able to do with all those systems when you don't do what they like? Turn you off, right?
Well,
turn you off.
Maybe. That's one way it could play out. But in many ways, these people they're very interesting to understand. And I don't know where this is going to go because one of the things I was saying is they want to get away from principles. But when I follow the influencers and hear how they talk, it's because they want to get back to morality. Now, it's hard to look at a lot of...
How can you not have principles, but you're concerned about morality?
Maybe I'm using the wrong words, but I guess what I'm saying is, if I just went to a Republican event and spoke, and I was preceded by this 75-year-old guy who spoke for 5 minutes about how great the Constitution was. And then I got up and followed him and I said, it's not going to save us. Nobody cares. And that's because, again, the quote, it's only our governance is only for a moral and religious people. And so how can the Constitution save us if there's a significant number of people in our country who just don't abide by its rules, don't have the integrity to even live in an agreement with people? I think a lot of folks would look at Constitution thumping under 40 as performative. And these people don't like performative. They like authentic. That's why they listen to podcasts. And that's why personal authenticity and honesty and trust is an important part of what they consume. And they also are very socially cohesive, even though they're weird. Like, for instance, they've never had more video games available to them than they have now, but they all just play Fortnite. They just play Roblox and Fortnite. They are craving collectivism, and they don't like that the system has failed. They perceive that it's unfair to them. And so, in my opinion, restoring fairness and all of the things like criminal accountability for them are off the charts. They want people arrested more than anybody else. They want the government cleaned up more than anybody else. They want audits. They want narco boats bombed. They want people thrown in jail for the AutoPen scandal. All of those under the under 40 voters are higher than every other age group, including...
You know what this tells me? You know what I'm hearing? They're the generation that's ripe for a dictator. They're the generation that's ripe for a one world antichrist to come in and do all this. You say, and I agree with you. The Constitution was written for a Christian and moral people, or at least Christian values, Judeo-Christian values, the laws of nature, and nature is God. And you're right. You can have the Constitution, but if you don't have the morality to go with it, it's not going to work. And that's why, to be a territory that became a state, you had to submit an application and show respect for the Northwest Ordinance, which is why a lot of the state constitutions say a respect for religion, morality, and knowledge. Religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary for good government. That's why you see that phrase in a lot of state constitutions, because it's part of their application to become a state that was a territory applying. But isn't that interesting? They don't have the morality that goes with it, many of them, but they want all the rights. They want all the rights that come from the republic without the morality that goes with it. Now they see the way to get what they need is for a strong man to come in and punish the people that they're blaming.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll get to a strong man. It takes a strong man to do that, right? Yeah. It's not just something you can snap your fingers and get. And I think a case could be made. I don't want to clutch pearls here. I think a case can be made that if we don't have something like that, we're not going to get as far as the Roman Empire did. Again, I love the Constitution as much as the next person, but it's not a suicide pact. I think we can all agree to that. And so we are past the time when half measures can fix the problems we have. I think that's fair to say. And I'm sure things can get worse. And I don't know how long it takes for these people to come in power, but they're absolutely going to. Right now, Congress is 60+% boomer and silent generation. And there's more people in the silent generation in Congress and Senate than there are in the millennial and Zoomer generation. Well, that's going to reverse. And I'm just saying these people are weird. They're wild and they don't care about the same things as you. And they don't want to be preached at or moralized because they think that anybody that is part of the system that preceded them has failed them by having false morals.
Okay,
and
but wait a minute. Can I play devil's advocate? Now, I'm not disagreeing with you because you're the one that tracks these polls and talks to them, and you seem to have a finger on the pulse of their worldview and their ideas and their beliefs. So I'm not discounting that. That's why I love interviewing you. But I would have to say that you stated something, and I agree with you. A lot of them are spending a lot of time on social media, doom scrolling. I'd love for you to do a poll. Sure. Okay, maybe you could do a poll on a couple things. How many hours a week are they playing Fortnite? What's the other game?
Oh, Roblox and,
So how many hours a week? Can you do a poll? Can you do a poll showing how many hours a week they play those games, number one? Number two, how many hours a week do they spend on their devices doom scrolling? How many hours a week do they spend watching Netflix and Prime and all these things, right? I want to know how much time they spend sitting versus how many hours of the day do they spend working, okay? Now, look, I started a commercial cleaning company pretty quick right out of high school. And I'm not bragging, but I was cutting grass when I was in junior high to high school, cutting 20 lawns a week plus, making $800 in the late 80s, making $800 to $1,000 on a Saturday, dethatching and aerating lawns, right? I worked like a dog, physical labor, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I've always loved to work. My mother taught me work ethic, had me doing chores around the house from a very young age. I think that's very, very important, by the way. How many of these kids were required to do chores growing up every week? There's studies being done on kids that are required to do chores every day. Okay. No, they were given the...
You're not going to win this argument, Brandon.
I know I'm not. But what I'm saying is they were given everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a prize, right? Well, if they're complaining about the economy, why do they have so much time to play video games? Why are they not out there waiting tables? I always say to people, go start a commercial cleaning company. It barely takes any money to get one going. I didn't have any when I started mine. You go in and clean doctors' offices. How dirty can that be? I was cleaning doctors' offices. I was cleaning office buildings. I was cleaning model homes. And
they're going to check out and they're not going to vote.
Do you know how much money these people make waiting tables?
Yeah, but here's what they're going to tell you. Well, your generation told me to get a college degree.
I didn't. I didn't go to college.
Well, my point is that anybody that's part of the past system They're just not going to listen to you. You're going to say, well, you know, the Constitution and work harder. And they're going to say, well, yeah, but you didn't have to compete with 30 million illegal aliens, and I do. And you know what? You might be right, but they're also right. And they're the ones that you have to get them to show up at the ballot box. So preaching at them is not going to, you know, even if you have a point, it's not going to work, because your answer, this is how you win a Republican vote. Your party position is, sorry, young people, we realize that we're preaching a set of values that has failed. We weren't able to use the Constitution to keep 30 million illegal aliens out, and we were captured by corporate interests and sent all your jobs overseas, and none of the elected leaders can actually be held accountable for any type of malfeasance. And yes, your future was stolen by taxpayer waste, fraud, and abuse, and no, we aren't able to crack down on that, but you need to vote for us, because our platform is you have to work harder. Come vote Republican. It's not going to work.
No, I agree. I understand. I understand that's probably not going to work with them. And I understand that they have been born into a system where the game has largely been rigged with inflation, stealing their, you know, the theft of hard work. But I did not go to college. I started college and I was getting a degree, starting out with a degree in business. And I asked the business professor, what business have you run, in front of the whole class? The moron hadn't run one company. I was running a very successful commercial cleaning company at that point. And I thought, you know what? This is the stupidest thing in the world. You're coming in here and teaching this class on business. You've never even run one. You're a moron. I got up and walked out, quit. All right. And I'm not bragging. The Lord's been good to us, but we have built a very large organization here, media company, and that doesn't even count the other businesses that I built. And I didn't do it with a college degree. So any of those people that, you know, those young people that want to complain, I didn't go to college. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was a stupid decision, unless you wanted to be an accountant or an attorney or a doctor.
You were a contrarian, and you did very well, and you're an outlier. And you can't build a platform on, hey, follow us, vote for us. And you can be an outlier too. I'm just saying, from a political perspective, there's no defense to these people. If I could distill it down, I would say that these younger generations objectively did not build the system that they inherited. They did not build this system. And they rightly think that there are perverse parts of it that have failed them. They are 100% right. And they're looking at the two-party solution. And right now, the Democrat solution is, well, we're just going to raid the Treasury and you're going to get stuff. And it's going to come from people who have had a better situation than you. And that seems pretty appealing. And then the people on the right, their solution is, I don't even know you exist. Oh, you have problems? Work harder? Like, that's their solution.